Some things are inevitable in life. Love, death, and Hwoarang making people want to uninstall the game. Ever since his addition in Tekken 3, all the way back in 1997, Hwoarang has been one of the most infamous, spammy, and cheap characters in the series, alongside two other characters who also made their debut in Tekken 3. The Taekwondo Master has always been known for his insane aggression and string pressure, being one of the most deadly characters in the game when he gets up close. He revolves around chaining his huge move list together on your guard, giving him massive plus frames and holding you in place. On top of all the huge plus frames, he has counter hit launcher strings if you try and press a button, low-high strings to break your block, and if that doesn't work, he also has a complete throw game, in a game where throws have never been better. He has a ton of distinct stances that he'll constantly switch between to throw you off, with 2 of them having over 20 different options. And with all this said, it should be easy to see why he's historically been a pretty hated character. And here in Tekken 8, he's been given some insane stuff. With the character almost entirely relying on strings to pressure your block, the addition of universal chip damage has been incredibly beneficial for him, allowing him to chip away at your health more efficiently than almost any other character in the game. In previous Tekken games, he had struggled to get in on his opponent to start his offense, but lo and behold, here in Tekken 8, he's been given an amazing approach option with his new move, Black Kite, having tracking properties, being plus on block, and being a heat engager. So now he has an easy way to get in your face whenever he wants and start his game plan. Combine all this with him having very high damage and some of the best wall travel in the game, and you have a pretty strong character here. His play rate is also very high, being the 5th most played character in the game, so you're going to be running into this guy a lot. Hwoarang has always been a difficult character to play. And who am I kidding? All the Hwoarang players say you need a PhD to play him, and all the haters say that a toddler could play him. But in my opinion, while I do think he's been made simpler to play in Tekken 8, I still definitely think he's harder than average to learn and play. He has execution requirements, which is very important just for him skyrocket, and a ton of moves you have to learn how to string together properly for all sorts of situations. But what can you do about these strings? What's the counterplay? Well, this gets into one of the main reasons I think so many people hate this character. Hwoarang is one of those characters where you have to be very familiar with them if you want to beat them. And if you haven't put in that time yet, he becomes one of the most flowcharty characters in the game. Lots of characters in this game have generic counterplay that even lower level players can implement to improve their chances of winning without actually learning the full character. Like being able to sidestep Kazuya left to avoid both options of his 50-50, or playing one backdash away from Paul to avoid the threat of his demo man. But with Hwoarang, there really isn't much generic advice to give. Your best bet to beat him if you don't understand the character is to attempt to crouch jab him out of his strings, but even mid-level Hwoarangs will notice this and punish you really hard for it. No, the reality is, if you want to beat this character, even ones who are significantly below your skill level, you absolutely need to put in the time to learn how to beat this character. You need to learn the weaknesses of each strings and how to exploit them. But most people will never actually take the admittedly long time it takes to learn this stuff. And this laziness also leads to the Hwoarang players becoming lazy, and then they end up spamming the same flowcharts you see over and over every time you play ranked. Most players who play this game are in the lower ranks, and pretty much no one in these ranks are actually trying to learn matchups. This means characters like Hwoarang, and a ton of other characters I'll be talking about soon, are unfortunately destined to be forever hated by a large chunk of the player base. So if you're just looking for the short answer of why everyone hates Hwoarang, that's it. Most people just naturally hate fighting against string-based characters, and for them, that's reason enough. While most people complaining haven't put the time in to learn the character, there are certainly some people who have, and still get frustrated playing against him. And this is never going to change, it's just the nature of the character. And that's perfectly fine if you ask me. Certain characters are always going to be hated more than others in games. These types of characters force you to dedicate a lot of time if you want to even have a chance to beat them, and most people just aren't looking to do that. If you're in that camp, I can't even necessarily blame you. Maybe you have limited time to play and just want to press buttons and hold forward. Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you guys are enjoying this and want to support more scripted Tekken 8 content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free to do, and you can always change your mind later. It really goes such a long way, as only about 11% of my viewers are subscribed. I hate doing these, but the YouTube algorithm can be a pretty cruel and unforgiving place, and I'm really trying to work towards my dreams of hopefully one day doing this as a full-time job. Thank you guys so much, and let's get back to the video. So we've established that this character is pretty hated, for some understandable reasons and some get good reasons, depending on who you ask. But I've heard a lot of people say stuff like, all these string and flowchart characters aren't real Tekken. Now, let me tell you why they are. One of the main identities of Tekken has always been its very large move list. It's the most realistic depiction of martial arts in any fighting game. If you think about it, a real fighter wouldn't be limited to like 10 moves like in other fighting games. No, they'd probably have a pretty huge arsenal of possible techniques and moves, with many of them being pretty useless, just like in Tekken. It's part of what makes the game so exciting and unpredictable. When a character like Hwoarang starts spamming strings you have no idea how to beat, while it'll initially cause anger, it should get you motivated to learn how to actually beat these characters. The beauty of Tekken is that there's always more to learn, and Hwoarang is a pretty masterful designed character if you think about it. There's a solution to almost everything. All the strings, all the setups, there's direct counterplay to all of it if you just put in the time. You need to lose a lot to this character and spend time watching replays, researching online, and ideally learning the character for yourself. Almost like a boss in a Souls game or any difficult game really. The first time you fight one, the odds feel insurmountable. It feels unfair, but the more you practice, it begins to feel more and more fair, and the feeling of satisfaction you get when you beat the boss is a feeling I've struggled to find in any other game. That is, besides Tekken. Tekken offers that feeling of satisfaction in a big way. When you figure out how to beat a string or a flowchart in training mode and then apply it later on in ranked match, it's a really great feeling. You need to remember that this game isn't an RPG. You shouldn't just be bashing your head into characters in ranked mode more and more and expecting to automatically level up. No, you're responsible for leveling yourself up, so a huge part of your growth in this game has to be intentional. A big part of being a strong Tekken player has always been about understanding the vast library of character knowledge, and naturally, some people love it and some people hate that. At the end of the day, it's fine to dislike or even hate characters. That's the nature of online competitive games after all. But I'm just trying to put it out there that even if you don't have an interest in being a competitive tournament player, taking some time to learn and understand these characters like Hwoarang that you struggle with can actually make your experience way better. This video was actually inspired by a real ranked session I had, where I ran into like 6 Hwoarang players in a row. I felt like a lot of you guys did, defeated and frustrated, but after thinking about it, I decided to actually take action instead of queuing up for another ranked match and learn about the character. And through that, I've actually come to really appreciate him and this whole game more. If you actually want to learn, you can just search on YouTube, how to beat Hwoarang in Tekken 8, and there's quite a few videos going over some counterplay. Or better yet, watch a Hwoarang guide like I did and learn the character for yourself. Learning a character you really hate and playing them in ranked is a really great way to figure out their weakness. But there's lots of different ways to do it. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to play a lot of Tekken, you need to make a choice. You need to either try and figure out these characters you hate so much so you can keep improving and start beating them, or just accept that you'll get annoyed and lose whenever you run into them and move on. It obviously depends on your goals and how you enjoy the game, but if you're interested in becoming a stronger player for tournaments, to rank up, or just to have more fun, I fully recommend the former. And I've been having a lot more fun with the game since I started learning multiple characters. Anyway, that's about all I have for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about Hwoarang, and also what character you'd like to see me cover next. As always, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members. Thank you guys so much. I couldn't do this without you. And if you guys are interested, you can support me over on Patreon and on the YouTube memberships. It's the same perks either way. You get a special role on my Discord server, a shout out in the end of each video like this, first to 5s whenever I do viewer matches on stream, and way more stuff coming soon. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.